Awesome. Well, good evening, everyone, and good morning from sunny California. It's 9 a.m. here, and it's a perfect day to give a presentation. So my name is Nicole. I'm a recruiter at Oomnitza, and it's an honor to be able to present Oomnitza as a remote-first company in Ireland. So today, I will be going over what Oomnitza does as a product and a company, the origin of the word Oomnitza, it's a very unique word, the history and milestones of the company in general and our recent history in Ireland. I'll be going over my own Oomnitza journey. I've been here for 1.5 years now. I'll be going over the makeup of the Ireland team and the location of all of our full-time employees, open jobs, the interview process, and benefits. And so that'll be my presentation today. And at the end, we should have time for questions. So let me begin by showing you a video of our CEO, Arthur Lazinski, explaining what enterprise technology management is and the pain points that it solves. So this is a very recent video. It's 4 minutes long. I think it was released actually a couple weeks ago. So I'll be playing that.
My name is Arthur Lazinski. I am the CEO and co-founder of Oomnitza. There are certain enterprise resources that require a system to manage key business processes. And they're the resources that businesses rely on the most. There's customer relationship management, and the key business process there is lead to cash. There's human capital management, HCM, which has hire to fire. There's enterprise resource planning, procure to pay. Of course, technology is now considered a critical resource in the enterprise. And in order to manage this technology, it requires its own system for these key business processes. Enterprise technology management is a single system of record for technology. Just like CRM is for customers, HCM is for employees, and ERP is for financials, it's time for CIOs to have their own enterprise application. So what is ETM? What is enterprise technology management? It consists of technology, which are our endpoints, servers, laptops, mobile phones, networking equipment such as routers and switches, infrastructure, virtual machines, AWS, Azure, and of course, applications, both installed and cloud applications. Now, this technology goes through a management process, and that management process consists of the purchase management, the deployment management, security management, the monitoring management, and of course, the service management or maintenance management. And most enterprise IT teams have many technology portfolios, and they're going to use a combination of tools. They're going to use certain SSO providers, or they're going to use certain system management tools. Maybe they're running Jamf on their iOS devices and Intune on their Windows devices. Maybe they're running Meraki for their networking equipment. And each solution we choose and that we run in our IT enterprise solves an important problem. The issue is that the data and the processes are fragmented. The data and the processes live in different systems, and it requires extreme effort to manage. It's nearly impossible for one of these systems to be good in all of these areas. The old way of doing things is to put the ticket at the center, meaning every single ticket is syntax for human execution. The amount of technology that enterprises are facing now far outweighs the human resource capital available to manage this via tickets or humans. Some tools try to solve this by perpetuating the siloed approach. One tool for software asset management, one tool for hardware asset management, one tool for infrastructure. But what we found is that it only perpetuates the siloed tools approach, causing more friction, less oversight, and terrible data hygiene. The best way to solve this problem, we believe, is to put the machine, the applications, and the technology at the center of the workflow. Because we believe that the technology is smart enough to manage itself, at least to the point where human input is necessary. Oomnitza is the enterprise technology management solution that consolidates data from existing siloed tools to provide a single source of truth for endpoints, applications, cloud infrastructure, networking, and accessories. And what sets Oomnitza apart is our focus on serving the enterprise. Our number one focus is our people, and our results speak for themselves.
Great. So that's Oomnitza. That's what we do. We are a SaaS company that focuses on enterprise technology management. You're probably thinking or wondering, what's Oomnitza? What a unique word. Where does it come from? I've never seen that before. Well, so Oomnitza is actually a Russian word spelled out in English. Our CEO, Arthur, speaks Russian, so that's where it comes from. It basically refers to a smart or intelligent child. So for example, if a parent is proud of their child for doing well on a math test, they'll say, "You're such an Oomnitza." So it's a very unique word. It's definitely unforgettable. And yeah, so that's where we get the origin of that word. So I'll be going over some history and milestones, both, as a company in general and our history in Ireland. So again, we're a SaaS company. We're based in the Silicon Valley in California. That's where I'm currently located. We have 3 co-founders. They're all from the Silicon Valley, and they were best friends growing up. They were actually best friends in high school. And they created this company together, and they're actually still with us today. One of them is our CEO, Arthur. One is Trent, who's on the engineering side. And the other co-founder is Ramin, who's on the sales side. So they started off as consultants, and they saw this need for IT asset management. So they created Oomnitza as a company. And they had their first IT asset management, first customer in 2013. So, they bootstrapped for many, many years. They were able to sell into amazing logos with zero marketing and a very small sales team. They probably had a handful of people in their company at the time. So, before the pandemic, there were maybe 10 employees going into a small office space in San Francisco and working there. And there was an interesting transition into remote work that actually happened before the pandemic. Basically, they were working one day in their little office, and the apartment above them actually flooded, and the ceiling caved in while they were working. So they actually had to go and work remotely because the ceiling caved in. And so that transition happened almost before the pandemic, and they saw that they were successful and able to work remotely. So actually, we got our first series funding, our Series A for 12.5 million at the start of the pandemic, that same March. So we got our series funding, and then we went remote. And that ignited a lot of headcount growth. And we were able to naturally pivot into this remote work environment because we grew into it starting at the beginning of the pandemic. So when I started a year and a half ago, I was about the 25th person, and now we're almost at 90 employees today. So we've really grown into this remote work situation where everything is, over Zoom and on Slack, and we really maintain our culture that way. We got our Series B funding this past summer for 12.5 million, and that is just helping us continue to grow. So in the past year and a half, as I mentioned, we've had 250% headcount growth. So I was the 25th person, and now we're almost at 90. So you may be wondering, okay, this is a lot of history in the US. What's happening in Ireland? So we made our first hire in Ireland a little over a year ago, and that's our director of engineering, Fergal, and he is based out in Galway. And we've grown the team ever since. So exactly a year ago, we were actually at 3 employees, including Fergal. And now we're at 17 employees today in Ireland. A few of those employees have yet to start. So we're still a very small, tight-knit team. This is actually a picture from a couple months ago during our Christmas party. As you can see, it's about half the size of our team today. So we've continued to grow. I was in Ireland in Q4, so that's why I'm in the picture. And I'll tell you a little bit more about my journey later and my relocation. So my Oomnitza journey, I again started a year and a half ago, and I just want to basically highlight all the growth and opportunity that Oomnitza has afforded me. So I started off as a talent coordinator, basically a paid intern on a contract. And this was my first time in tech, just breaking into tech as an entry-level talent coordinator. Previously, I was in education and nonprofit work. So this is, a shock to my system, but I loved it. So I converted into a full-time employee 3 months into my contract, and was able to work hard and be promoted to a recruiter a year in. And now I'm in process of gaining my work permit to move to Ireland, and upon approval of my work permit, become the operations manager for the Ireland team. Right now, because of COVID, permits are taking about 5 months average to process. So that's why I'm in California right now. I'm just waiting on my permit, but plans to relocate to Ireland. So I just wanted to highlight, my journey. So because it's an early stage team and, it's a startup, I think this allowed me so much room for growth and the ability to make an impact, room for visibility and the ability to wear many hats and grow within such a short period of time. I think if I had worked at a larger company, I would be pigeonholed into, one role for a very long time and wouldn't have the opportunity to be promoted and be able to relocate within a year and a half of me being here, starting entry level. So I think that shows the importance of, impact and, again, being an early member of the team. So we place a lot of importance on culture, both globally at Oomnitza and within the Ireland team especially. I'll kind of go over how our leaders in Ireland really place an importance on culture. So this is our beautiful Ireland team as of now, and a couple people have yet to start. So as you can see, it's a very small team, very diverse. We are fully remote within Ireland, but we do say that we're headquartered in Galway. So Fergal, our director of engineering, and Marianne, our head of HR and operations, they're both based in Galway, and they are amazing leaders. They just bring such a great culture to the team through their management style, their personality, and their ability to bring safety to the team in the sense that everyone feels like they could be themselves. So we're fully remote. About half the team lives in or around Galway, and the rest of the team is just outside and live in different areas. So that means that we don't discriminate based on location. We find the best talent in Ireland and hire them. And I mean, the only requirement is that employees live and work in Ireland. We still want to maintain that culture and the ability for people to get together in one place and see each other in person on a quarterly basis. So we are 35% female, which I think is amazing for an engineering team. And we just hope to continue diversifying and growing our team. We'll probably double our headcount in Ireland by the end of the year. But as you can see, we have a focus on engineering right now. That's all, that's our focus. Myself and 2 others are on the operations and HR side, but as you can see, the rest of the team is engineering. So that's where we have our open roles. Maybe down the line in the future, we'll be able to kind of open up other departments within Ireland, but for the foreseeable future, we are engineering. Where in Ireland are we located? So I mapped us all out, all 17 employees. As you can see, half are in Galway and the other half are spread out. So, again, we're trying to get together on a quarterly basis and have, workshops and fun team events. And, Ireland is such a small country that people are able to drive to one location and we can accommodate them and be able to have a few days where we can see each other in person and maintain that culture. So now for the fun topics, open job roles in Ireland. So currently we have open full stack software engineering roles. We are open to both senior and intermediate level engineers, but we really have this as a priority, the full stack role. But we also have open backend engineer who are experts in Python. We're looking for both senior and intermediate level, but with an emphasis on senior. Same with front-end engineer, experts in Java, both senior level and intermediate, but an emphasis on senior level engineers right now. We have more roles coming up. I'm sure this list will grow very soon, but right now, some roles that are popping up are the senior product owner / business analyst role, and we'll be hiring 3 software engineers for a new integrations team. So they'll be, between 3 to 5 years experience. On the bottom, I put a link for where you can apply. You just go to our Oomnitza website, go to the careers page, and you can apply directly there. And or you can contact my coworker, Renzi, who's our senior technical recruiter. So I included her email there in case you want to reach out to her directly. Right now we're all engineering, but keep your eyes peeled because eventually we might open up, customer support or sales down the line. But that is our main focus right now. So the interview process, it's a very short, straightforward process. We know how much engineers hate, take-home assignments and just extra work. So we're not going to do that to our candidates. We have a 30-minute recruiter screen with Renzi, and if she likes a candidate, she pushes them forward to a 1-hour technical interview with 2 team members, so 2 engineers on the team who will perform a technical interview over Zoom for an hour. And then any candidates who pass the technical interview will meet Fergal, our director of engineering, and that would be an hour interview, and he'll decide on an offer. So since we're all remote, all interviews are done over Zoom. It's pretty simple. And I wanted to highlight our director of engineering, Fergal, because he's such an integral part of the team. He's like the glue that holds the team together. I had a chance to informally interview all the engineers on the team. And I asked them, why Oomnitza? You've never heard of us. No one's ever heard of us. And so why did you choose us over all of these opportunities? You're an engineer in Ireland. You have so many offers. And they said their conversation with Fergal, that's what helped them make their decision. He's really funny. He's transparent. He has a great management style, and he allows people to be themselves at work. So basically, Fergal is the reason why we have a team. He's just an amazing person, and he was our very first hire. So again, based out in Galway. Last but not least, we have benefits. And I know there's a lot of words on this page, so apologies for that. But I just wanted to go over the benefits we provide here at Oomnitza in Ireland. We provide the standard pension plan with a 5% employee match, medical insurance through Irish Life Health, 100% gross premium for employees, as well as spouse and dependents, life assurance, income protection. And I think this is really cool. We offer vision and dental, 100% gross premium for employees. I know not a lot of companies in Ireland offer vision and dental, so I think that's a big selling point for us. Obviously, remote working and flexible work schedules. We also offer €300 work from home stipend allowance, on top of the Mac or PC that is, up to you whether you would want a Mac or PC. And we send the monitor and headphones. And again, regular fun social events and workshops. We're going to try to do that on a quarterly basis now that Ireland is opening up. Before, like, we couldn't do any of that, but now that the country is opening up, we can consider getting together in person and having some fun events. And last but not least, we're introducing an employee equity plan. So this is also really huge. We want our full-time Irish employees to have equity in the company. So right now we're in the process of finalizing that and being able to offer that to our employees. So I think that's it. That is the end of my presentation. So thank you so much for listening and for having me today. I will stop sharing my screen and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Nicole. Brilliant. So we had a few questions come in there, lots of information, and the video really helps to see sort of the back end, the sort of reasons and the motivations behind why your company exists, and really good to get a bit about the culture and a bit about the team. So a few questions. We have people on the call, as you know, from India, from South Africa, and across the world. And we know you're currently in California. So obviously the team at Oomnitza is growing, but you talked to us this evening about the specific roles in Ireland available for Irish residents. Are there other roles for people outside of Ireland, in the US or beyond? And does that depend on the team, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so right now our only global location outside the US is in Ireland, and it's purely engineering. So the rest of the roles are within the United States. We're hiring a lot within sales, professional services, eventually marketing, and we're hiring a few engineering roles in the United States that are more leadership positions. But right now, it's a very new team in Ireland, and that's our only kind of global location.
Okay. And we have a question from Shivam about, could you share how easy or difficult and what measures you take to manage remote teams? So I think this is about the distributed teams and working with people in Ireland and in the USA, and maybe even in future, as it goes into different time zones, different other places. So what are the things that help you when you're working with your team that is international?
Right. Yeah. So we are all on Zoom. We kind of have a policy where we always keep our cameras on. So we want everyone to see each other. We want to make sure we maintain our culture. So we have a weekly all hands meeting on Wednesdays, and that includes the US team and the Ireland team. So the whole company is on this all hands meeting. And so there's a lot of games, and we introduce new hires. We talk about our customers. So that maintains, the culture between the US and Ireland. We're also all on Slack. That's kind of our main form of communication. And we have something called coffee donut buddies. So this Slack bot basically matches us up every 2 weeks with someone random in the company, including the Ireland team. So people are matched up and they just talk to each other for half an hour about anything outside of work. So that's how we get to know each other. And we're all in the US, we're all in different states. I mean, just a year and a half ago, we were all Bay Area based, all driving distance from our San Francisco office. And now we're spread out. We have tons of employees on the East Coast as well, in the Midwest, in the South. So that's how we kind of maintain our culture. And again, we were able to grow into it really well because we were so small, and then the pandemic hit and we got funded at that same time. So we just grew into the remote work situation. We had a few growing pains in the beginning, a lot of Zoom fires that I had to put out, in June of beginning of the pandemic, but we were able to grow into it so well. And we were so well positioned, and our product did so well because we are perfect for companies wanting to go remote. We sell into enterprise companies who have to track their employees worldwide. So we actually had our best sales during 2020 during the pandemic. So it worked out well for us.
Yeah, so it's really booming in terms of the organization, building customers, and yeah, it's great to see. And we have people on the call and people in our community from engineering backgrounds, but also from different backgrounds. So I'm going to post the Slack, which is for anyone who's involved here, who wants to find out more about other opportunities, those that may come up in future at Oomnitza. You'll find them in the Grow Remote Slack. You'll find them also on our jobs board, which is jobs.growremote.ie. And there are also opportunities that are across the world in different time zones, different countries. And actually the question from Moira, she put her hand up there. How do you deal with the time zone differences? So obviously we are on a call right now. It's sort of the end of the day here in Ireland. It's the end of the night nearly in India. And it's first thing in the morning for you. So if you're working with people who are traveling or who are, abroad or in a different location every quarter, if they're doing different work, how do you manage that?
It can be rough sometimes. Even the difference between California and New York, right? There's 3 hours difference, and that's big. So imagine, the 8-hour difference with Ireland and people on the West Coast. So, we have our all hands meeting at 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. And so that's 5 p.m. for people in Ireland. So there is one meeting a week where, it's 5 to 6 p.m. But since most people on the team are engineers, they actually kind of work within their own bubble of, that Ireland team. They don't need to really communicate too much with people in the United States. Of course, Fergal and Marianne, since they're our leaders, they have meetings with people in the US, but I think the people in the US are cognizant of that time difference, and they have like 8 a.m., 8:30 meetings in order to accommodate those in Ireland. So it actually works out well. And, I told everyone on the Ireland team, like, please set boundaries, because oftentimes in the US we have trouble with work boundaries. And so I didn't want that to leak on, into the Ireland team. So I said, don't answer Slack messages after 7, or don't make yourself available, so that you could set those boundaries early on and people can respect them. So I think it's all about like personal time management and making sure, like personally, I don't have Slack on my phone and I don't have work email on my phone for that reason, so that I'm not available 24 hours a day. So
yeah, this is great advice, Nicole. And we actually talk about this a lot in Grow Remote, and we talk about this in the community. Shivam says, same here. I presume you mean you don't have these apps on your phone for emails and things. And these are questions that get asked all the time. How do I set up my personal boundaries? How do I make sure that I'm actually working on my terms? Now, you mentioned that the engineers in Oomnitza maybe have a lot of flexibility in how they do their work, and that's a really positive element of asynchronous communication and how people can plan their own day and get their own work done. But this is also another skill for remote companies, especially companies that are distributed across different time zones, that you need to be very self-disciplined in how you manage your time, how you get your work done. And if you have, it's not a matter of just calling someone up and asking them something, because you need to be very respectful of other people's time and how they're managing their time. So it's a kind of different skill. And we see this a lot in terms of the remote companies that speak to us and the different skills and tools that they use. But yeah, that's an interesting one about keeping Slack and email off your phone. I'd love to know, actually, on the call, Shivam already let us know, how many of us would use sort of work apps on our phone, on our personal phone? Just let us know in the chat, because it's always a talking point. Do you find, Nicole, would you be alone on your team in that, or do you think it's maybe something that other colleagues do as well?
I'm definitely the minority. And I think it was just because maybe I have bad anxiety and others don't, but I was just checking constantly the Slack messages and the emails on my phone. And it made such a difference. Like I was thinking about work over the weekend. I didn't have those boundaries. So what I did is I deleted it, and it changed my life. And I also, not everyone has the privilege to do this, but I worked on this backyard office that's attached to my garage. So the physical separation of my laptop from my bedroom also made a huge difference. Like trying to sleep when your laptop is blinking, it just doesn't help with the work boundaries and keeping all your tech in your bedroom. So if you have the ability to do so, try to separate your bedroom from your work, and have that kind of physical separation, because that also makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and it is a physical separation, but I think what you're sort of hitting the nail on the head with is it's a psychological thing, because you can just separate your mind from it. And if you leave the room, you can leave it behind. I know some of the people in Grow Remote and some of the people in our community talk about closing all the tabs, putting the laptop down, and that's the end. Whereas if you have your phone open all evening, or if you have your laptop and you're like, reading some news on your laptop on the same tab as your email comes in, it's very, very difficult. And we have Georgiana has her email on the phone, Grania as well, but she tries not to check it. No, Fiona doesn't have apps on her phone. John does. Yeah, it's very important to separate. Shivam says it's so overused in the last couple of years, so decided to delete it. Yeah, I've gone through something similar. I've deleted and then uploaded again, and then deleted and uploaded. It's kind of thing where sometimes if you're busy or you need access, maybe it's a decision. But again, it's something that in a remote first company, it's a really, really important part of your working day.
Yeah, and another thing I do, since I work so closly with the Ireland team, and I continue working as they're getting ready to go to bed, I make sure I actually schedule my Slack messages. So, even if they have their notifications off, I don't want to send a message to them at 11 p.m. So what I do is I schedule it for 1 a.m. California time the next day, and that's 9 a.m. their time. And so they receive the message, and then they think I'm bonkers because they think I'm up at that time. I'm like, no, I'm scheduling the message. So just utilizing tools like that, like you do that with email as well, just to set those boundaries. Even if someone has their notifications off or their Slack off, you don't know if they do, really. I don't want someone getting a message from me when they're about to fall asleep. So utilize, scheduling Slack messages and email, and that's also respectful.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Shivam says it's so thoughtful as well. And it is considered because, maybe people on the call have worked with colleagues. I know I've worked with people who almost have it as a badge of honor to be emailing at 10 o'clock at night, because it shows that they're still working. It shows that they're committed to getting it done. And, there is the other side of that, which is actually creating a professional environment where people do have their boundaries, and it's okay to, spend time with your kids or to watch a film in the evening, and you don't need to be at your phone. And Colleen says, I have work and life balance. There are some days that you're not busy, and sometimes at night you get things done. And actually that's a really good point about flexible working too. It's up to the individual to choose, but maybe there's a balance of working when you want to work, but not sending emails or communicating with people, not trying to reach people when they don't want to be reached.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, because especially as a leader or a manager, you're sending out a message when you do that. It shows like, I expect you to be working at 11 p.m. because I'm working at 11 p.m. And you don't want to send that message out as a leader. You want to maintain a healthy work environment and culture. So I think that's really important. Another thing I do is I find that it's really hard for me to take lunch, like my full hour. So I try to take a full hour for lunch. And so I go on walks in my neighborhood, and without, Slack off my phone, email off my phone, just listening to music, that really helps to get outside, get some sunshine or some rain in Ireland, and go on those walks. Because otherwise I eat my lunch and I'm like, okay, I guess I should go back to work after 15 minutes of eating, and then you have no break. So creating those little routines is also really important.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, you're very Californian, talking about the sunshine.
Yeah.
Maybe assigning yourself a task, and that task could be to walk to the shop and back, and it might take you 25 minutes or whatever. Because if the task is just to eat lunch, then as soon as you're done, then you've no lunch anymore. You know, your break is done. And I think that's a nice thing to assign yourself. I want to listen to 3 songs, or I want to listen to this podcast episode or this mini podcast. Get a dog, Grania says, forces you to go walking. Bea says we have sunshine too. Yes, we do sometimes on a great day. I was saying describing to Nicole earlier, an ideal summer's day in Ireland would be about 25 degrees Celsius. Would you agree? Let us know what you think. And maybe what's your ideal weather in Delhi or in India? Just give us a Fahrenheit or a Celsius. We'll work it out.
So it is in September and October.
Okay.
Yeah, similar degrees, pleasant weather. But yeah, right now it is like freezing cold.
Okay. Good stuff. Thanks, Shivam. Yeah, so these conversations, these issues, these topics come up nearly every single jobs club, because it's a big part of choosing your career, choosing your lifestyle, choosing how you want to work. And this is something where when we go into schools and we're talking to people in local communities, remote really does give you the opportunity to choose your lifestyle. And obviously working hard and getting the job done is a big part of that, but it's what you do when you don't work that is the big appeal for so many people. So Nicole, you said you're moving to Ireland.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to? And then what do you look forward to in your spare time when you're not working?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting my QR code sent to my email so I could legally enter the country. Right now, it's like I just have to wait and hope for the best. So I'm trying to move to Galway. So I know there might be some difficulty with the housing situation. So if anyone has any suggestions for how to find housing in Galway, ideally the city center, let me know. But another thing I love about remote work is, so I'm a huge traveler. I just love traveling, and I hate the thought of having a restriction on location. So this past summer, I was able to visit family. My mom's from Latin America. So we went back home and I took a week off for vacation and went to the beach. But then I just stayed there and worked from my computer for like a few more weeks. And to have that possibility is amazing, to be able to spend time with family, see different places, kind of create your own schedule. As long as you're producing, I think that's what matters. You know, I wouldn't recommend Costa Rica for internet, but there are plenty of places with great internet. So I love the idea. And a few times I traveled nationally with a few friends who work on their computers too. I went to Portland for like 5 weeks with my friend who works at Netflix, and we just worked on our laptops from an Airbnb. So to be able to have that ability to even check out your own country is so cool.
You all, it's 5:45 or 10:45 or wherever it is in the world that you're joining us from. Thank you once more to Nicole from Oomnitza for joining us, and Fiona says thank you, Nicole and Donal. Bea, thank you very much. Thank you, Georgiana. Thanks, Eugene. Really appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll hear from you all very soon at the next Jobs Club. We'll send out a little link to the YouTube video after this in case you want to share it and share people about these opportunities. Jobs.growremote.ie. You can see those Oomnitza jobs as well as other remote roles as well. So thank you, Colleen. Thanks, Grania. Thanks again, Nicole, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.